Hi everybody and very welcome to yet another Sunday night live stream. I hope the internet will be holding up today, and if internet does not hold up today, I'm going to head over to Facebook to continue the stream over there. So in any case, you can be absolutely sure that you will be able to ask your questions then. And if you have any particular questions, as always, use the super chat. You see the little dollar symbol there below. You can use that, and that I do guarantee that I will try to answer all of the questions that comes up on the super chat. Otherwise, I will be, as always, using the Mentour Aviation app to answer questions from there, and they will be in that order. So super chat, Mentour Aviation chat, and then the chat that comes on here. So great to see you here. So far the internet is seeming to hold up. I can see Bernhard, Mohammed, Seb, Harsh. There's loads of guys signing up. Great to see it. So today on the live stream, guys, I want to do exactly like I always do, which means that I'm going to be answering questions. If there's something that's interesting that comes up, then I'll answer that. I might not, and obviously I won't be able to answer all of the questions because there's loads of them, but I'm going to do my absolute best because I want this to be a good experience for you as well as for me, okay? I have Davey who is helping me out to moderate the chat, so he will be removing if there's any questions that are being repeated, for example, or any abuse, but I'm not expecting that from you guys. I know you guys all behave when it comes to these chats. So let's see what we can do then. So, Mentor, shall I join a merchant navy or airlines if I'm a middle-class person? Well, that's going to be up to you. I mean, there's two completely different things. So, I'm guessing that you're referring to the financial part of becoming a pilot, which is hard, but it's perfectly possible to do, guys. And I keep stressing this, that what I would like you to do is check out, if you're lacking the money, let's say you don't have any kind of money, you don't have a rich family to come from, you can't mortgage your family's house or anything like that, well, then the only thing that stands left is either to find a government-sponsored program, an airline-sponsored program, or, for most people, you just have to find a normal job and work through that, get the extra money that you might have, and use that money to get flight lessons. Now, that's going to take some time. I realize that, but that's just the reality of it. If it takes you 3, 4, 5 years, it doesn't really matter. But you can get there. That's the point I want to make. It's perfectly doable. So, let's see. What else? Let's see if we have any questions on the Mentour Aviation chat, which we do. Mentor, can you please do a video on Airbus versus Boeing aircraft? Like this, the Airbus versus Boeing theme comes up all the time. And I have a very specific video in mind for doing that. And I'm guessing most of you probably have an idea what that video would entail. So I'm keeping that off for now. But you can expect that in some, very close future in this channel, you will see something about Boeing versus Airbus. But it's probably not going to be so much versus as in comparing the two of them. Okay, since I haven't flown any Airbus, I can't really answer directly, ask questions about Airbus, because it would be stupid for me to talk about things that I don't know. So I'm going to have to find someone else who knows something about Airbus. Right, cool. Let's see if there's any other questions here. Mentor, do you enjoy auto land in bad weather or manual landings, which make you more happy? Any pilot loves landing his aircraft or her aircraft. So I prefer manual landings if I can. Now, having said that, when it comes to really bad weather, we don't really have a choice. So when the weather dictates that the visibility goes down below 550 meters of runway visual range, RVR, then we have to do a Cat 2 or a Cat 3 landing, and those are outlands in my company. I know that in some companies you can do manually flown Cat 2, but we cannot. So when the weather goes really bad, we use the automatics and we use them to their full extent all the way until after landing. We only disengage the autopilot after the aircraft has actually landed it. Some aircraft have the capability to actually let the autopilot keep them down the center line as well. We do not have rollout capability on the 737, so we have to disconnect. But Cat 3s are, they're interesting to do once in a while. I do them for training quite a lot because people have to, once they get out of their sim training, they still have to do a real Cat 3 in better weather than the Cat 3 conditions before they're allowed to fly a real Cat 3 down to Cat 3 minimums. So I do them quite often. Now, there are some downsides to doing Cat 3s. One of them being that the aircraft starts its flare at 50 feet. no matter what. And we don't start our flare at 50 feet. We generally wait until about 30, 25 feet or so before we start to flare. This means that the autoland always uses up more runway than a normal landing. So if you have a really limited landing distance, then it is always manual landings. Okay. So that's my answer to that. I love doing manual landings. Those are the fun bits. Taxi, you'd be surprised actually. Captains like taxiing, because taxiing is kind of like landing. You can do it really well, or you can do it really poorly. I had a question not too long ago actually about whether or not how do you know that you're on the yellow center line? And the answer to that is that in the 737 we don't have any cameras or anything like that. You have to learn how to get yourself on the center line when you're taxiing. So the answer to that is that you try to keep the center line or the yellow taxi line about aligned with your right knee when you're taxiing. If that's the case, if you can see the yellow taxi line going down straight down into your right knee, then you are pretty much on the center line. But it is really an art form to taxi properly. And we have our first super chat from Mani Ramachandran. Thank you very much for contributing to the channel, Mani. Hi, this is Corporate Guy again. Would you ever make a passenger join the cockpit if they are someone like me that wants to see takeoff and landing from the beautiful cockpit view? I would love to, man. Okay, there's nothing, if I could take people in, if I saw a teenager or someone from a different airline that has an ID or something that that I can see that this is a pure enthusiast that really just wants to follow in the cockpit. You know me, guys. Nothing would make me happier than to be able to show how things are actually done. And I got to sit in the cockpit when I was a teenager. And that was a fantastic experience. I would love to do that. However, after 9/11, that has been banned in most airlines, okay? They just cannot, the airlines cannot motivate the extra risk of having someone who's mentally unstable or who has some kind of political agenda getting access to the cockpit. So I'm saying most airlines, not all. There are still some airlines that do allow people to sit on the jump seat, so it's always worth asking. But in my airline, it's absolutely forbidden. The only ones that are allowed to sit in the jump seat are pilots who have a company ID and are in uniform. The reason that they have to be in uniform is also because this is a psychological thing. If you are afraid of flying, okay, and you've seen the news and you've seen the 9/11 reports and all of that, you don't want to see someone who is not in a uniform going into the cockpit. That's going to increase your anxiety levels and it's going to make you feel worse. So that is another reason why most airlines, they don't want to risk it and they don't want to make other passengers feel uncomfortable either. So there are some very good reasons to why people are not allowed. And that's why, in my case, I will have to say no. I can't take you onto the jump seat, unfortunately, and no one in my airline can, unless you have a written approval from the chief pilot to do so. But I say this again, you can ask the airline, because in some cases they will still allow you. So there's nothing wrong with asking. The only worst thing that can happen is a no, and you always ask the purser or the flight attendant, okay? You walk it through them, they get to ask the flight crew. And in any case, you can always say hello after the flight. In some cases they might say no because they're really tied to something, they might have a technical problem or something that they need to work on and they can't really spare any attention. But in 99% of the cases, they will be happy to accommodate you coming in, have a look around the cockpit, say hello, ask your questions and things like that. So please continue to do so if you want to. Right, and thank you very much for the super chat contributions, very much appreciated. By the way, guys, I hope you've gotten the Mentour Aviation app now. Now, I'm working a lot on the app now. There are new playlists coming up almost every day. I put documentaries in that highlight a specific problem, and then you'll have a training collection that is associated with that. So, for example, we had about wind shear. I had a documentary up about a Delta Airline Flight 191 in the United States that got pushed down and crashed due to a microburst. And then in connection with that, we have the wind shear. So we're showing you in a full 360 view how we deal with wind shear warnings, both in the landing and the takeoff configuration. And today, since it's first of Advent, I have a 50% sale inside of the app. So make sure that you take full use of that after this, because it will finish in just a few hours from now. Yeah, Edson, I know you have to buy them, but this is why I mean the app actually does cost me money to run, and it costs me a lot of money to make. So I have to make it, you know, running. Believe me when I say that I'm not making a lot of money on it. It's just it's of it, and if you know me and the channel by now, you know that's the truth of it. Right, I'll take some questions then from the chat, from the Mentor Aviation chat. Mentor, what is your favorite call sign? Okay, just off the top of my head, I have to say Speedbird, right? Because I think Speedbird is an absolutely excellent call sign. It's classy and it is cool. So Speedbird would be my favorite call sign if I had to choose one. But there are many around. I have heard Batman as well, which is cool. When you've seen my Batman video, so you probably know why. What else did I hear that was really? There's some really weird call signs out there. I think they're probably corporate jets that do really cool call signs, and you hear them from now and then. How do you call a faulty aircraft an aeroplane? A faulty aircraft, we call it AOG, aircraft on ground, right? It has to stand on the ground until we have an engineer to check on it. So an aircraft that is faulty, you will see AOG in front of it, Alpha Oscar Golf. So that's what we call a faulty aircraft, or a lemon if it happens often. Right, cool. Let's see. I'll take some more questions from the chat here as well. So, Captain Potato, you're asking about medical questions. Now, I've done two videos, two really good videos with a aeromedical examiner, Micke. So go into my YouTube channel after this and check through those, because Mickey was talking quite a lot about what you need in order, you know, when it comes to eyesight and stuff like that. And if you have specific medical questions, I will never be able to answer them. So you're going to have to contact an aeromedical examiner. There's almost one in every city all around the world. So just go in and Google aeromedical examiner Santiago, or wherever you might be, and you will find some telephone numbers, and you can call them, you can ask your questions to them, or you can go and have a meeting with them if you have some specific medical questions that you want answered. Opinion on single pilot airliners. Yes, I've seen quite a lot of press about this. Yeah, it will happen. All right, it will happen at some point if they can get the AI, artificial intelligence, good enough. We will probably see, this is probably more likely than completely pilotless aircraft, is one pilot aircraft, and that will happen in the future. I would say that it's a good 30 years away, just because of legislative problems. Okay, the technology is probably already there. It could be done, but from a legislative perspective, getting all the different countries that you have to overfly and everything to agree, that that will take a lot of time. So I wouldn't be worried. I'm not worried during my lifetime. We'll probably see one or two, but that's it. And then, like I've said, I did a video on this as well. I've done surprisingly a lot of videos on a lot of different subjects by now. And I think that the whole thing about the technology taking over pilot job is going to take some serious time still. So I'm not worried. If you are above 10 years old, you probably don't need to be worried either. My kids might need to be a little bit worried. Okay, so they might, at the end of their career, if they choose to be pilots, see that their job is being, you know, phased out. But don't worry about it, guys. That's what I would say. Right, guys, we're getting loads and loads of questions now. So if you have a really a question that you really want me to answer, then use the super chat, because it's by far the best way to answer your question. And there. Wait. Let's see. This is not good. Wait. I managed to click a notification here. So I was just about to start playing a YouTube video. That was not what I was trying to do. All right. Let's see. So there we go. Some couple of questions here on the super chat. Jonathan Recco, thank you very much for your contribution. Assalamu alaikum. Mentor Pilot, can you explain the differences between Avasi and Poppy lights? When are each used? Do airports have both, and how are they similar? Yeah, so Vasis, I think, is mostly, let's see. So it might be something to, let's see, wait, I have to work a little bit on the internet here, guys, because it looks like it is falling out. All right, guys, can you still hear me? Because if not, I might have to do something with my internet here. All right, I'm gonna continue here to see if you guys can hear me or not. Just write yes if you can still hear me. It works. All right, cool. All right, so vases, I have never seen them. Okay, vases are very rare, at least in Europe. Poppies, on the other side, are very common. Okay, the poppies are 4 lights. Okay, there are 4 lights on either both sides of the runway or on each side of the runway, showing you if you're high or low. So if you're on your glide slope where you should be, you should have 2 whites and 2 reds, right? If you get 3 whites, you're a little bit low, and if you get 4 red lights, then you're too low. 3 whites is a little bit high. 4 whites, way too high. So it's a very, very easy and intuitive way of understanding the where you are. All right, vases works in the same way, but instead of having 4 lights, you have I think it is 2 or 4 lights on top of each other instead. Now, like I've said, I'm not like the vases. I'm not really familiar with because I have never flown on vases, but I think that in the US they're a little bit more common. And if you Google Vasi, you will get pictures. Just choose pictures and you will see exactly. It's the same kind of principle. It will show you by the amount of white lights and red lights whether or not you're high or low. But the poppies are superior in the way that they react quicker and they're more accurate. Okay, so that's you know, I can, if you want, I can go into further detail on it, but to be perfectly honest, I need to read up a little bit on vases before before I say something, because I'm not 100% familiar with them. Cool, more questions. Oi, now I'm getting a little bit behind here on my super chat. Can you explain what equivalent airspeed is? Equivalent airspeed, as in, I'm not 100%. I don't really understand that question, to be perfectly honest. If you can, because I promised that I'm going to answer these questions. Okay, so can you just go to Facebook, to my Facebook page, write me a private message there, and just outline in a little bit more detail what it is you want me to describe. Okay, and by the way, guys, if you want answers to ATPL questions, then I am probably not the guy to go to, because I haven't studied ATPL for 17 years, you know, so I'm more of an operational guy. If you have questions about the operations of stuff and how we actually do things, I'd be happy to answer. If you go into really detailed technical questions or anything like that, I'm gonna have to dive into the books in order to give you a straight answer, so I can't give you, you know, just like this. But the equivalent airspeed, I recognize that question. I've seen it before, so I think you've asked this before. But can you go into to my Facebook page, and I promise I'm going to try to explain it in more detail there. Okay, cool. Right, Blue Bear, would you ever do a video in an Airbus simulator? I would love to. You know, and this is also, and I said in the beginning, I did a little bit of a tease that, you know, I have some ideas about what I'm going to do when it comes to the Boeing versus Airbus, and it does include an Airbus simulator. So we'll see if I can manage to pull it off, but I would love to do that, because I have no idea. And if someone puts me into an Airbus simulator, I would love to see how far I can get it off the ground, and if I can get it down again without any problem. Cool. So, Bikey 4, would Captain Joe have a big problem getting a type rating for Boeing 737 NG or MAX? No. I doubt that he would have a problem to get any of those type ratings. Captain Joe is, from what I know, you know, I have spoken to him on a couple of occasions, and I've definitely seen quite a few of his excellent videos, which I recommend all of you guys to see. I'm guessing that most of you do anyway. But he is a type of pilot, you know, if I'm talking as an instructor and as an examiner, he's the kind of pilot that takes this very, very seriously and really goes into the books and really reads up on stuff before he's getting questions on it and stuff. So I don't think that Captain Joe will have a problem to take any type rating. I think that he will be well prepared. I think he will go in a very professional way, and I think he would, you know, go through it with flying colors. So I don't think he would have any type of problem with that. He would have to work hard, just like I would have to work really hard to go in and fly an Airbus, since I've only been flying Boeings. But it's all about attitude when it comes to this. For example, if I were to be given a job in an Airbus, all right, if something would happen to my current employment and I would have to change over, well, then I would, no matter how much experience I have and how much I am an instructor and an examiner on the 737, I would realize that I am just a student when it comes to the Airbus, and you have to be humble in the face of that and really dig into the books and understand that you're a newbie. No matter how much experience you have, you're a newbie on this aircraft. So there's tons of things that you need to learn. And that's the way to face it. And I'm pretty sure that that's the way that Captain Joe would face this as well. Quick scooper. How competitive is it to become a pilot nowadays? It's very competitive. All right. It's there's a lot of pilots being trained. Not enough though, I should say. And this is a good thing for you guys. There's starting to be some quite obvious signs of a pilot shortage at the moment. You can see that by airlines trying to compete about getting the pilots, trying to up their terms and conditions in order to get the most experienced and best pilots. There is definitely competitiveness, as in there's definitely competition for getting the jobs. I wouldn't say anything else. You still have to be good, you still have to work hard, especially to get that first job. But it is possible now. Like when I started, it was almost impossible to get a job. It was just after September 11. No one was getting any jobs. Right? I was so lucky to be called for an interview with the airline that I'm working for now. But now it's better. It's still competitive though. So I wouldn't, you know, you can't get into this and thinking it's going to be a walk in the park. You can't get through your licenses and think, as long as I have my licenses, I'm just going to get a job. No, it doesn't work like that. Be aware that you are going to have to work really hard in order to get that first job, no matter what the industry looks like. All right, cool. So Nagarjun RK, thank you very much. I see you probably had a question. In that case, the question didn't come up. So go into my Facebook page and write me a private message there and I'll answer the question for you. Vik Andersson, 77. Hi, Mentor. Is a line check for you as an instructor more difficult compared to a normal captain or FO? Does the examiner expect more from you? No. Okay. No and yes, I would say. It's not more hard. All right, a line check is a line check. It's a very specific thing or kind of test program that you need to go through. Line checks are different than simulator checks. When you do a simulator check, you go through a specific program, all right, with specific failures. But a line check is just a line flight, which means that, you know, you have to do whatever comes up on the day. So if you're doing a flight and it's really good weather everywhere and stuff, then it's going to be a nice or an easy line check, within quotation marks. However, you are still going to have to do a non-precision approach. All right, so you have to show that you can do a non-precision approach, brief it properly, and you are going to have to you know, basically do everything up to a specific company standard. So as an instructor, it should be easier, and to a certain extent it is, because I know as a line checker myself, I know what a line checker is looking for. However, and also this is something that makes life easy. As an instructor, you have to work according to company SOP all the time. Even if you're not training, you still have to be, you know, up to speed when it comes to the procedures. You have to be doing everything the right way, because even your colleagues, even if you're not training, they will be looking at you. And if you are doing something that's not SOP, it will be seen by the other colleagues as something that is okay, or viewed as okay by the airline. So you, as an instructor, you have to set an example to your colleagues, which means that I constantly have to do everything SOP. All right. That means that for me, doing a line check is just like any other flight. I do a flight exactly the same as I would when I'm flying a normal flight. So it becomes easier in that way. And also, I'm teaching non-position approaches. So if I can't fly one, then it's, you know, I shouldn't be an instructor. So from that perspective, it is easier. Now, do they expect more from us? Yes. I mean, you would expect a line trainer or a TRI or a TRE to be proficient in a specific way. Now, you still are graded to the same standard as everyone else. But I would expect, if I'm doing a check on another TRE, I would expect them to hold a specific standard. I wouldn't judge them differently. Even if they didn't hold that standard, that wouldn't change their grade. As in, they wouldn't need to be better in order to get a good grade. But I would definitely expect something, and that's what I'm thinking that people would think if they're line checking me as well. Cool. Miguel Lima, same for you. You probably had a question. Contact me on Facebook. Send me the question there, and I will try to answer it for you. Thank you very much for helping out to the channel. Jared Driggers, in an extreme emergency, can you land at a military airbase or an abandoned runway? Yes. And in an extreme emergency, you can land wherever you want. And if you call Mayday, then that opens up even military airports for your use. So that is, and in an extreme emergency, let's say, for example, I'm on fire. I have an uncontrolled fire in the back. I can land wherever I want. That can be a road, military airbase, a disused runway, a farmland somewhere. We always aim to find a workable runway. A, because it's more likely that it's a survivable landing coming out of it. B, because it's going to be fire services there that can help, medical services and so on. But as an emergency escalates, so does the need to find somewhere to land. So what Sully did, for example, in the Miracle on the Hudson, that's how you want, that's how an airline pilot is programmed to think. Okay, this happens. It takes a while for them to understand what's happened. It takes a while for them to realize that they don't have any kind of engine trust. Then they start looking, what are our options? He starts looking at Teterboro, he starts looking at going back to JFK, and realizes that he is at too low altitude to do any of those. Well, the next thing he wants to do then is find an open space that makes as little damage as possible on third party. All right, so people on the ground, and in this case, that's Hudson. That's the only place that is wide open and flat and doesn't have any other people that he can hurt. So this is how he's looking. I think at that point, yes, he's trying to save everyone on board and himself, but it has also come into his mind that he doesn't want to crash into buildings or anyone on the ground. So he's now aiming for that. And then once they have decided that this is what they're going for, they're now trying to do that as safely and, as good as absolutely possible. And they did an absolutely brilliant job when they did that. Cool. So Nagarun RK, hi sir. There are always talks about extensive use of fossil fuels and extortion of resources. Can you talk about the impact of this on the aviation industry? Yeah, the aviation industry is probably going to be one of the last industries to go off fossil fuel. Okay, so the access to fossil fuel is extremely important for the aviation industry. And why do I say that? Well, we can find other fuels. If you're on the ground in a car, you can drive a car, a diesel car, on almost any kind of fuel. You can remake batteries, or to go on fuel made from algae or whatever, basically. The fossil fuel, like the petroleum, the oil, has one thing that almost no other fuel has, and that is the potential to give almost exactly the same kind of energy no matter what the temperature is. All right, so this is something that makes the aviation industry's use of fossil fuels a little bit unique, because we are operating in such huge ranges of temperature. We can be taking off at 35-40 degrees of heat on the ground, climbing up to -60 at the top of climb, sitting there, the temperature of the fuel going all the way down to maybe -35 degrees. Our minimum temperature is -43, by the way. And then you know, we need to get the same kind of thrust out of the engines no matter what the temperature of the fuel is. And this is something that is unique. All right, so this is why I'm saying that it's going to take a while to get the aviation industry off fossil fuels. Now, having said that, there's an absolute possibility that they might be able to construct some kind of super batteries that can drive fans that produce the same kind of thrust for longer. And if they do, we have a lot of room for batteries on board, but it cannot be heavy. So it is a possibility that we might see in our lifetime electrical aircraft, but I doubt it. And I think that if we would reach peak fuel now, peak oil now, and the oil price would start to rise, the aviation industry is going to be very heavily affected by that, because it's unlikely that we'll be able to change the whole existing park of aircraft to accommodate that. While for example, the car industry, the car park in the world is already changing. Within 20 years, it's unlikely that we'll see much fossil fuel cars on the streets anymore. There's no reason to believe that that would exist, because there's no reason for it to exist when the battery technology is good enough. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Cool. So Bikey 4, on the subject of Airbus, I'm right-handed. Do you feel the side stick for the left seat is tougher than the right? It seems counterintuitive to me. This is a really interesting question, and it comes up quite a lot. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't. All right. It's exactly the same in the Boeing as in the Airbus, because if you think about it, you're going to use one hand for the thrust and one hand for the yoke, no matter where you're sitting. So, for example, when I'm flying from the left, okay, that I am always, nowadays, almost always. I'm actually going to do it from the right this week. I'm going to do some captain training, but that's beside the point. I am using my left hand to control the yoke, and I'm using my right hand to control the thrust. Okay, so even though I am also right-handed, you get used to that within a couple of hours. A couple of hours in a simulator, you're fully used to it. You don't even think about it anymore. So, and me, for example, like this week, for example, I'll be flying 2 days from the left and 2 days from the right, which means that 2 days I'm going to be flying the yoke on the left and the thruster on the right. Next day I'm going to be flying with the thrust on the left and the yoke on the right. Okay? Doesn't matter. You get used to it. It does not matter at all if you're right or left-handed in this industry. You will feel weird for a couple of seconds, in my case, before your head is turned around. It's just like driving on the left or the right side of the road. Once you've done both, you know it, and it's not going to be a problem for you. So don't worry about being left or right-handed. I have plenty of left-handed captain friends. I am right-handed. And we change from left to right all the time. Doesn't matter. So Jack Taylor and Dominic Pirek, thank you very much for your additive in the super chat, guys. Let's see if we have any questions from the normal chat here. I don't want to completely disregard you. I am 12 from Edson. I'm 12. What advice can you give me? I can give you this advice. All right, you need to focus on school now. You need to use the energy that you get out of having a goal. You need to use that goal to get as good grade as you can possibly get. All right, I made this choice when I was 14 years old, and it's the best thing. The fact that I knew that I wanted to become a pilot was the best gift I could have ever gotten, because it made me focus. It made me know that, all right, if I'm going to be an airline pilot, I need to have good grades in math, physics, English, and in order for me to get into the government-sponsored program that I wanted to get into, then I knew that I needed to have absolute top grades in everything in order to have a chance to be selected to come for the interview, right? Same thing for you. You can now sit down and you can devise a plan. You can see the roads that are stretching out in front of you, and you can pick what road you are going to take because you know what the end goal is going to be. Right? Most people in your age, or even older than you, even all the way up to their 20s, have no idea what they want to do in life. They know maybe they want to work a little bit in management, or they want to do economics or social work or whatever, but they don't know what to do, which means that it's really hard for them. There's loads of different educations that you can take. You can go to different colleges, you can go to different universities, you can take different degrees, right? But if you don't know what the end goal is going to be, it's going to be really, really hard for you to make those choices. So your job from now on is that you need to get your, work your butt off when it comes to the schoolwork, right? Get as good grades as you possibly can. While you're doing that, you start to sample which flight schools you want to try to join. You do proper research because you have plenty of time. There's no hurry whatsoever. You see which flight school is your ideal flight school. Then you start to make contacts there. You go and visit them. You make sure that you know people, and then when the time comes, you know exactly what to do. So you have the luxury of time. So congratulations. Now you put in your work. You are going to get there. I promise. Good. I saw something coming up in the super chat here from Andrew. Greetings from Canada. Well, greetings. With GPS being so common in cars, is it used in airplanes? Example, using GPS for approach and landing instead of the ILS? Yeah, it is. Okay, we are using GPS to a great extent. So in a modern airline, you have what's called an IRS, which is an inertial reference system that does not use GPS. You also have GPS, which is more exact, and you have two GPSs to back up the signal. And we fly something called RNAV approaches quite often now, which is basically GPS approaches. That in some cases are backed up by a reference unit sitting on the runway, but in most cases they're just the GPS positions that updates you, and we have alerting system telling us that the GPS signal is good enough. We also have to check that there's no rime holes, which are if there's not enough satellites, which it can be, the combination of satellites. Sometimes if you're really unlucky, or if you're flying into a region where it's a lot of mountains, you might be in radio shadow for enough satellites to get a proper reading of the GPS. And then we have to check that pre-flight to make sure that that's not scheduled to occur at the time of our approach, number one. Then during the approach, we also have to check that our actual navigational performance, which is the airplane is in real time calculating how big the likelihood is that you are at a specific point within 95% of the time. Okay, that has to be better required navigation performance. So systems, if two GPSs would come offline, let's say the Americans, for example, would choose to switch off the GPS system, then we would immediately get an alert saying that, well, I am calculating your position now, but I'm not 100% sure where you are exactly within how much, how big of a frame fly a different type of approach. But yeah, we do use GPSs to a great extent. We do RNAV approaches quite often now. There's specific requirements for it, specific training for it, and in most cases, in all cases, your aircraft has to be approved to do it as well. Cool. Right, so get some questions from the Mentour Aviation chat now. So CF11 Mentor, what is your favorite airport in England? In England, that's a great question actually. Like, I know that one airport that I don't want to fly into if I can avoid it is Leeds. It's like landing on a aircraft carrier. It's short, always has crosswind, and it's like this. But Prestwick I like flying into as well. Nice long runway, often a little bit of crosswind, which makes it interesting. Glasgow, Edinburgh. Edinburgh is beautiful. Bournemouth is nice as well. Bristol I like. I don't have any. There's nothing like, oh, I would love to fly into that one in the UK, because the UK is kind of flat and the runway is a runway more or less. But yeah, if I would have to say one, it's probably Edinburgh. Actually, it's beautiful. So, more questions here from Dominic Pirik. Dominic, you're on fire today. Hi, did you have a problem with your airline to allow you your Bose headset? Do they need any certification in order to be used in an airliner? I don't want to spend 1,000 and then cannot use them. Don't worry about that. There are headsets out there that are not certified. Okay, there is the Bose ViewFly mic system. That is basically a Bose A&R, normal A&R headset that has a plug-in with a boom mic, and that hasn't got the certification yet. I used to use that before. It worked absolutely perfect. My airline had nothing against that at all. My airline hasn't got any. They haven't really gotten in and given any specifics about what kind of headset they want to use. all right, that want you to use. You have to make sure that whatever headset that you're using is workable, and that it's fulfilling standards. But the Bose A20 is one of the airline world's most famous headsets, and it fulfills every tick in the box. So don't worry, if you can't use a Bose A20, you can't use any type of headset, basically. So don't worry about that. They will have all the certification that you ever need. Unless an airline comes in and say that you have to use our specific headset, but in that case they're going to have to provide you with something equally good as well. So I don't really see that happening. But be a little bit aware about like these homemade concussions. I absolutely loved my UFly mics. When I was using them, they were great. Right, they were comfortable, lightweight, worked exactly the way it should, but they can't be compared to the ANR of the A20, and also they don't have that certification. So, you know, you could, if you do something like that, you could face that the airline would one day have some kind of incident, some kind of loss of comm because of one of these headsets running out of battery, for example, and then they could go in and they could just say from one day to another that, listen, you have to use a specific set of headsets, and that's it. But the A20 and all the light speed Zulus and all of those, they will fulfill those requirements, don't worry. Cool. Martin Paulson. Hi, Mentor. I'm starting my type rating for an Iris 737 operator next week. Do you have any good advice? First of all, congratulations. Absolutely fantastic to hear that the people are doing so well. Yeah. All right. So good advice. And I think I mentioned this in my previous live stream as well. You should start by reading the technical manual now. Okay, so you're starting next week, which means that you don't have too much time. I would say now is probably a time to chill a little bit, spend some time with your family and friends, and tell them that you are going to be gone from the face of the earth for the next 2 months or so. But if you want to start preparing, it's the technical bit that's going to come first. So you're going to have to read up on the technical bit. Do that, and then as you get partnered up with whoever you're going to do the type rating with, then start sitting down and read through the SOP manual, the scan flows. Start with the scan flows. Remembering the scan flows is going to take a while to get it into the motoric memory. Go into the Paper Tiger. The Paper Tiger is one of those mock-ups that you can sit and just point at the different switches that you're going to do. By all means, use my my collection, the setup collection. Okay, if you have a 360 headset, it's even better because you can sit and actually follow me through when I do the scan flows. But you don't have to. You can just use this on an iPad or an iPhone or something as well. But you'll see that I'm gonna do these scan flows in a very standardized way, so you can learn a lot from that. And if you have your SOPs on one side and then you want to practice it, and then you can see what I'm doing as well on the setup collection, I'm guessing it's going to be quite effective doing that. Now, I'm also want to point out that the procedures that I'm using in the app is not the same as all operators' procedures. Okay, so there might be some differences, but you're gonna have to just look at, take away those differences. The way I do the scan flows and the way I interact and the way we read checklists and stuff is gonna be exactly like any other 737 operator. So use that, and then remember, this is going to be loads of work. Okay, there's going to be a lot of work during the type rating. You're going to eat, breathe, shit 737 for months now. So remember to take a break. And I do mean this, okay? Take at least one night off a week to get up, have a dinner with your friends. Don't speak about 737. Just try to make sure that you don't overwork yourself, because it can become overwhelming otherwise. Good luck and enjoy, because it's good fun. Hi, Mentor. What is your favorite approach airport in Ireland? Ooh, in Ireland. Surprisingly enough, I like flying into Cork. I haven't been there for a while. Cork is nice. I like coming in from the seaside into Cork. It's beautiful when you actually get to see it, and it's not cloudy, that is. But yeah, I would probably say Cork, and after that would be Dublin. Yeah, that's it. Maybe Kerry. as well. Kerry is short, but I like Kerry. Cool. Loads of questions coming in, guys. So let's see. Go take some from the Mentour Aviation chat here. Have you ever been to Nuremberg? Nuremberg? I'm not sure. No, I don't think so. Actually, I haven't flown to Nuremberg. No, sorry, I haven't been there. Unless it's really, I recognize I could get a Delta November, but I can't remember if I've actually flown there or not. All right, so Mentor, what is it called when you have 8 puppy lights, 4 on the left and 4 on the right of the runway? It's the same. It's just double poppy. It's just poppy. So it's easier that way, but there's no different name to it. Right, some questions from the normal chat here then. Elias Norgren, pratar piloterna engelska med ATC när piloterna är svenska flyger från till exempel Arlanda? So I'm going to take that but in Swedish, okay? So basically the question is, do pilots speak the native tongue, like for example Swedish when they're Swedes flying from Arlanda? And the answer to that is that yes, they can. All right. In some cases, the native speakers can speak on their native tongues with the native ATC. In France, it's very common. The French always speaks French on frequency. However, and I should emphasize this, it's not the professional way of doing it. Okay, and the reason for that is that English is the official language of the aviation world. Okay, we speak English in China and in the United States and in Southern America and in Spain and in Mongolia and wherever you might be. All right. The reason is that we need to have a common tongue because we need to understand what's going on around us. So if I'm flying into an airport in some country that I don't speak the languages in, it's nice to hear that someone is on the downwind for the same runway or that someone is about to line up and actually understand it. So yeah, the answer to the question is yes, they can speak Swedish, but I would recommend, and I think all airlines do recommend this as well, to speak English, because that increases the situational awareness of everyone around you, not only yourself but for everyone involved, and that can only come with positive things. Right? There's nothing negative about using the common language when you're flying. So I would recommend English, unless you are flying a Piper Cub and you're coming into some small airport somewhere where you of course can speak Swedish or speak whatever the native tongue would be. But if you're flying for a commercial operator, I would definitely recommend that you use English to as far as you possibly can. Right, cool. So let's see. There is David R. Thank you very much. I didn't come up with a question, unfortunately. And so if you did have a question, then go to my Facebook page and ask me that later on. Cool. More questions from the normal chat here. Hello, Mentor. I'm 32 years old and I want to become a commercial pilot before 40. How are my job possibilities? Greets from Ecuador. Yeah, it's hard to say, right? I have said that there's no really upper limit to becoming a pilot, and there isn't. All right, it becomes harder as you get older, because we all, me included, feel that it's harder to learn a lot of information during a short period of time as you get older. It might the takeoff run becomes a little bit longer, but if you can get through that, if you get through all the training and you have all the licenses ready, then it's going to be up to your local airline. So what I would tell you is that, since I don't know the market in Ecuador, for example, I would like you to go into the local airlines, the airlines that you are planning to apply to, and see if they have any age restrictions, because they might have age restrictions. Okay, so do some of the flight schools. So Scandinavian Aviation Academy, for example, I think they said 36 years or something like that they didn't take integrated students that were older than that for whatever reason. So there might be some restrictions involved in it. I can't say about that, and it varies throughout the globe. But for example, in my airline, we have taken up cadets, first officers that are 50 years old. So it does definitely exist job opportunities. But I cannot guarantee, and I can talk about how it is in different parts of the world. But be aware that, of course, you are going to have to potentially move from where you are. You have to make sure that your family is involved in this decision, and everyone knows what it's going to mean, both financially and about the possibility of moving. But if everything of that is set up, then go for it, man, and best of luck. Right, let's see if there's any more questions coming up here. Can you cover more about a stewardess and their safety training and responsibilities? Yeah, sure. I should probably do a proper video about this, right? The quick answer is that a stewardess is not there to serve you coffee. They are there to provide and make sure that we have a full set of safety features working in the back of the aircraft. That we have all of the emergency exit manned in case of a forced landing and evacuation, and that they are basically my eyes and ears and arms in the back of the aircraft. So if something happens, they will report to me, tell me what they've been doing. They look after basically health and safety. That's their primary concern. Everything else, be it selling stuff on board or serving coffee, serving meals and stuff, that's secondary. Those are the kind of things that they do because they can and because it earns money for the airline in some cases. But safety is always their primary job. They follow the same chain of command. So top of the chain of command is the captain, first officer, then comes the purser, then comes the number 2, 3, and 4, as in the selecting order. So if both pilots will become incapacitated and the purser will become the pilot in command, sorry, the person in command in that case, they do not have any kind of pilot training. I know, for example, like my wife is an ex-flight attendant. Big surprise. You can talk to her, by the way, in the Mentour Aviation app. She's Alpha Mentor Wife. She'll probably think that's funny. Anyway, in order for her to get a license as a stewardess, she had to actually go through some actual proper training in Spain to get a license before she made the course in the airline. All right, so she had to actually read through some of the CPL theory, aerodynamics, aircraft general, navigation, loads of those things she had to go through because they needed to have a fundamental understanding of how pilots work as well. Now, having said that, most flight attendants do not know how to fly an aircraft, so they will not be able to land an aircraft more than any of trainee passengers would do. But if you have, David, if you have any specific questions about what flight attendants do and what their roles are, then write me an email or something, and maybe we can do a video about it. I would love to get the flight attendant in and ask those questions directly to them, because I think that's really the most interesting thing. All right, Mentour Pilot. I am Scottish, and I fly from Edinburgh. And also, what's the worst experience you've ever had? Worst experience I've ever had. I have to think now, because I have to go back. I've been flying for almost 16 years at this point. So the worst experiences I've had normally doesn't include anything wrong with the aircraft. It tends to be have been flown with really, really like angry and unfriendly captains, for example. That tends to be a really horrible experience, especially if you have to do that over a period of 12 hours. Otherwise, it tends to be weather related, so really poor weather conditions. That makes it tricky. But I can't pinpoint one flight that was specifically horrific. Okay, I've been lucky that way, and I'm hoping to continue like that as well. Mentor, how many flight hours have you logged? I have to summarize my logbook because I'm lagging quite a lot behind. I'm embarrassed to say how long behind I'm lagging at the moment, but I am around 10,000 hours in total. Okay, 9,800 on the 737. It's more or less. All right. Okay, more questions. Hey, hi Captain. How do you fight jet lag? I don't have to. Like in my case, it's very easy because I fly within Europe and I come back to my home base. I always sleep at home. The only thing that I do change is I'm changing from earlies to lates, but that's almost nothing. My friends who are flying long haul, they tend to have different strategies. Some of them, the ones who have family, tend to try to stay on the same time as they have on their home base to be able to utilize and be most effective as parents when they get home. That means that if they fly to the other side of the world, they're just going to have to be awake when it's night over there and go out and try to find somewhere to eat and sleep during the day when they're at their night stops in order to not change their body clock at all. Then you have pilots who just, if they have a nice night stop somewhere, maybe they try to just stay up and then sleep a whole a whole day, try to like be up, do stuff during the day when they get there, and then get a proper night's sleep, so maybe 12 hours, in order to utilize the time there. That will start messing with your body clock. So the jet lag is really a bad part of being a pilot, and if you're not careful, it's going to have influence on your health, and it's going to age you, and it's going to make it harder for you to do this for a long time. And if you speak to people who have been in the long haul business for long, that's what they're going to tell you. They're going to tell you that they feel tired all the time. If you don't manage this really, really strictly, and look after your health and work out properly, it can become a problem. Absolutely. So let's see, Matteo Favi, have you ever flown to Lima, India, Papa, Quebec? Now I'm just going to have to make sure that I am not saying something wrong here, but I do. Yeah, Trieste, absolutely. I've been to Trieste. It was a while ago though, but yeah, I've flown to Trieste. I've flown to a lot of airports in Italy. Just last week I was in Fiumicino and Bologna and Pisa, and so I fly to a lot of Italian destinations. Fiumicino was interesting, by the way. Man, that's a big airport. Loads of taxiways, strange local ATC procedures and stuff like that. This is the interesting bit of having to fly out of Barcelona, because all of a sudden I have to fly to these major airports that I normally never fly to when I fly from my home base in Girona. So I learn a lot. Now the downside is that I have to teach students at the same time as I'm learning. So it becomes quite challenging for me. But it's interesting, because new stuff is interesting. And if I didn't like new stuff, I definitely wouldn't be in this line of business. Right, guys, I'm just going to take another couple of questions now, because as you can hear, I am running out of voice, and I've been doing this for almost an hour. I do realize that I didn't do this last week, so... by the way, when I have you all here, I have to ask you a question. Would you prefer to change the date of the live stream to Friday instead? Right? I'm going to put on my Facebook page, I'm going to put one of those forms up that you can fill in, but I'm thinking about changing over and trying to mix it up, maybe do once on a Friday, one on a Sunday, one on a Friday, so that more people can have access to this. So I'm getting a lot of yes and no's, and no, yes, yes, no, yes, no, yes. All right, so it's a little bit inconclusive. So there's a possibility that I might be mixing it up. So I might be doing it one day, and basically I'm going to have to anyway, because soon my fixed roster of working Monday to Thursday and being off Friday, Saturday, Sunday is going to be gone, right? I'm going to go over to a rolling schedule, and in that case I will have to change days anyway. But I was just thinking about where to do it. And by the way, now here's another question that I want to have your answers on. Do you like the vlogs? And if so, would you like more of them on here on YouTube? At the moment, the plan is that I'm going to do vlogs in the app, right? The vlogs are going to be in the app, and then every week I might release 1 or 2 vlogs on YouTube, right? Because I'm doing maybe 3 or 4 a week, depending on how much time I have. But I am pushing them into the app, because I don't want to clog the YouTube channel with vlogs, all right? But do you like them? Do you like the format? What would you like to see more of? Just write it in now, because I'm reading feverishly all of your comments here. So Matthew, Christopher, you do not like it, all right? And James Radek seems to like it. More vlogs, please. Yes, 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 yes. I like them. Technical videos, yes, yes, yes. Your last vlog with Marcel. Yes, vlogs are great. All right. So I'm getting a sense that you guys like the vlogs. And I like to do them as well. Actually, I bought some new equipment, and I'm going to make them, less shaky and stuff. And I'm going to do more vlogs, because I like them as well, and it actually takes me less time to make. So my aim is that I'm going to continue to do one of these instructional videos whenever I have access to an aircraft every week, okay? But there will be one or possibly two vlogs maybe coming out on YouTube as well, and then the rest of them is going to be inside of the app. So if you want to follow my everyday work and my thinking are, and you know how I feel before a flight, how I feel after a flight, and everything of that, then you need to get the Mentour Aviation app, and you need to get it now, all right? Because that's where most of them are going to be hosted, and you'll see that because the videos that are going to be released on YouTube is going to be like vlog number 6 and then maybe vlog number 9 or something like that, and you know that in between there's a couple of vlogs that that is only available to you guys in the app. Cool, guys. Right, I am going to round this off now because it's coming up to exactly 1 hour. Have an absolutely fantastic day, guys. I'm going to, next week, I'm going to be working on earlies on Sunday, so it's unlikely that I will be able to do it. Maybe I'll do it on Friday this week, okay? Because next Monday I'm going to have to work out of Barcelona. I have to go to bed really, really early because I have to get up at like 3 o'clock in the morning. Crazy. So it's not going to be a Sunday night evening one. It might be in the afternoon if the internet is holding up. Otherwise, I will do it one of the other day. And you will know that by me putting it up on Facebook, or you will get a push in the Mentour Aviation app. So by the way, guys, if you have the app already, I know I'm talking a lot about the app, but that's because I'm really, really excited about building this community. If you have the app, I need you to go into App Store and give it a grade and a rating. Okay, the more good grades I get, the more good ratings I get, the more people will see it. You know, people who maybe not following the page, but I want to know about aviation. So if you can do me that favor and just go in and give it a grading and a rating, wherever you are, you know, I need a certain amount on each country in order for it to appear in the App Store. So please go in and do that, because maybe you are going to be the only one in Ecuador who does it, or in Chile, or in whatever it might be, Elfenbenskusten, the Ivory Coast, wherever. So it's really important. Cool. So there's a super chat left. All right. Is there a special approach and takeoff procedure for TLV? Have you ever been to TLV? I have not been to TLV, but I am going to have a look right now since you're asking. So, Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv, as far as I remember, Tel Aviv is very short, right? I don't fly there, right? I only fly in Europe. So I haven't flown to Tel Aviv. I'm going to have a look at it. Tel Aviv. Longest runway is quite long, actually. Tel Aviv. No. Tel Aviv. Oh, actually, yeah. Wait. Tel Aviv. I think the airline might have started flying there. I haven't flown in there, and I think there are some special procedures for security procedures, but I'm not 100% sure what they are. But to answer your question, no, I haven't flown into Tel Aviv. It's very possible that I will in the future. In that case, if there are some special procedures, I might do a vlog about that. So stay tuned, and stay tuned for the vlogs this week. They're going to be quite interesting. I'm going to be flying from the right seat. I'm going to be instructing captains. I'm going to give you my views about, you know, what you need to think about as a line training captain when you're instructing other captains. So it's going to be quite interesting, guys. So stay tuned for that. And that will be it. Have a fantastic evening, guys. Thank you very much for all of you who has been in here. I'm going to go into the Mentour Aviation app chat now, answer some questions in there, and I would like to get some feedback if you like this live stream or not. Take one last question here. Let's see if there's something interesting on the actual chat. Hi from Joe Biden. Hey. Right. All right, there's no more questions. So take care, guys, and have a happy. Oh, by the way, remember that there's a sale that goes on inside of the app for another couple of hours, 2 more hours, and then I will cut it short. So make full use of that, and see you next time.